Hi, everyone. My name is Max. I'm the co-founder of Atato. We are a custodian, crypto custodian based in Bangkok, and we are the organizer of the Bangkok blockchain meetup since 2019. A lot of you guys know about this because it's not the first time that you are joining, but for the new joiner, welcome. So this meetup is online, as you obviously guessed, but we used to do it like in a face-to-face. But anyway, now we have a lot of people from Singapore, Vietnam, and other regions which are joining, France as well. So the format of tonight is going to be a bit different. Like for some reason, I'm going to be presenting. I'm not going to be the host. I used to be, but today actually we are going to discuss about a topic that seems to interest people and creating a lot of feelings online. And we are going to talk about the bear market. But before we go this way, I just would like to introduce everyone to Charles Tan, who is the new Chief Marketing Officer at Atato and is going to be basically the host tonight. And Charles, can you give a few words about you and your background?
Yep, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Charles. I'm from Singapore. Okay, for me, I've spent almost about 10 years. I think 10 years in marketing. Okay, some of those were in sales. Previously, I came from the crypto exchange. Okay, 1 year ago, and we grew our exchange to quite substantially. And I've always wanted to explore DeFi projects, and I think wallets are actually the gateway into Web3. So here I am at Atato.
Yeah, so welcome, Charles, and yeah, happy to have you. And for everyone, so Atato is a crypto custodian based in Singapore as well, with a lot of the team being in Thailand and in Southeast Asia. So just before, sorry, I'm keep adding in some people. So there is a reason why we chose those topics tonight. So just to give you a bit of a background on the meetup, generally we talk about the tech. We invite protocols, other companies, basically presenting their projects. But as you saw, the crypto market has been on the bumpy roads those past few months. And a lot of people were actually asking a meetup on the topic of the markets, where is it going and what is going on. And I think it's a good moment to basically look back at what happened previously and what we might expect, what we could see in the near future. So again, this is supposed to be a conversation. We can't allow everyone to speak, otherwise going to be a mess. We tried it, it was a disaster. So please, use the chat. Charles here is going to monitor. We're going to reply to all the questions that you might have. And tonight, I'm going to start with a presentation, then after some few questions, and please don't be shy, ask your questions online. So allow me to share my screen, and Charles, I will leave you managing basically the admissions. And,
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Max.
All right. So give me a sec. So we are going to talk about the bear market. And before we start on that, just a bit of a background about myself, because why would I be qualified to talk about this topic? So my journey to crypto started quite a long time ago, actually in 2013. To give you the background on how I got into crypto, basically I was living in Thailand, and at that time it was very difficult to basically transfer money out of Thailand back to France, and the fees were outrageously expensive, and I was looking for some ways basically to find a cheaper way to send money back to France to pay my student loan. And one guy in a bar in Bangkok, I'm not joking, it's a true story, believe me, that told me, just use Bitcoin, it's going to be much cheaper. And remember that it was in 2013, it was a completely different space that we are today. And I started looking into it, didn't understood much at the beginning, but thought that, okay, it might be the currency of the internet, so it's worth to try to just look at it and try to buy one. At that time in Thailand and even in Southeast Asia, it was extremely difficult to buy one Bitcoin. basically we had to call some friends in the US to make a transfer to credit cards to basically buy 1 Bitcoin there. And the second moment where the first purchase I did in Bitcoin, which was actually buying a Trezor, you know, this hardware wallet basically to secure cryptocurrencies. And it worked, and it worked well. And they say, okay, it's amazing, it's working. We really need to start digging a bit on this technology. So, as I said at the beginning, I started my journey into crypto in 2013. So I saw ups and down and ups and down again. And I think that I learned quite a lot of stuff during those past few years and those past bull and bear markets. So what I'm planning to do today is not at all financial advice. I'm just going to basically look at the crypto markets, what happened in the past, what I learned from it, what we might see in 2022, and what are the differences compared to the previous bear markets. So just before, when we posted this meetup on Facebook and others, I think it's the first time that I received some angry message from people asking me, what the hell do you know about Bitcoin? And you have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's right. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's interesting to look at what happened in the past and what could change with the new tools that we have on blockchain today. All right, so what I would like you to do is feel free to ask any questions, and if something is not clear, please let me know. I will try to make it very easy to understand for the new joiners, and if you want to go a bit more on the technicals and on the details, please feel free to ask your questions there. So the first thing that I would like to point out, and there is one thing that qualifies crypto investors, it's impatience. People who have been in the crypto space are impatient by nature. So they want their coins to do 10 or 100x. They want the new blockchain killers to pop up, and they don't really look back on where we are and what have been done in the past few years. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin is a very young asset classes. Okay, you can tell me it's already 12 years, like almost, that Bitcoin has been launched, but on a financial standpoint, it's a very, very young asset. Ethereum, 7 years. The ICO of Ethereum, the first one was in August 2015. I remember when it happened, it was quite a big turn moment on the blockchain space. And when we talk about decentralized finance, today you see a lot of banks in Singapore and Thailand looking into DeFi and investing in it, but it's just something that actually popped up 2 to 3 years ago. So it's a very, very new space with very new product. The whole industry is getting built at the moment. And I know that for you guys who maybe own some cryptos or work in blockchain, you feel that everybody knows about it, but there is only 300 million users worldwide. Might be a bit more than that, but actually this is a very, very tiny fractions of people owning cryptocurrency if you take the scales of the other financial product. One point that we always mention, it was a running joke back in 2017, is the famous Bitcoin ETF. So for people who don't know what an ETF is, it's the exchange trading funds. It allows a lot of liquidity to come into a certain asset class because institutions are able to buy them. And today there is still no real Bitcoin or crypto ETF trading on the NASDAQ or so on. There is substitute of it, but not a real ETF that people can buy. I know that we have some lawyers joining us tonight, and but they might be a bit freaking out on what I'm going to say, but actually crypto is still not really regulated. In Thailand, we are quite lucky because we have a regulatory framework, but even in certain part of the world, it's still unregulated. The tax system is not clear, so it actually limit the amount of investing that is done into the crypto space. All right, on the small part, I don't know if you can see well, but basically it's just like an image of the equity market compared to the cryptocurrency one. It's actually extremely small. And I think it's going to stay small for quite some time, despite the fact that it's been growing quite a lot this past years. But we are still a tiny fraction of people looking at this cryptocurrency. But yeah, so just remember that it's still a small asset, and a small asset implies a lot of volatility, a lot of scams, a lot of tries and losses. So yeah, just wanted to point that out at the beginning.
Right. Max, I have a question. What do you mean when you say DeFi is only 2 years old?
So I don't know if you guys remember, but when we saw like decentralized finance protocol coming out, it was the summer of 2020, if I remember. It was the DeFi summer, so the protocol started a bit earlier, but people investing in decentralized finance really started in 2020. So today we are in 2022. You can see that decentralized finance is still kind of new.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
And I think we're going to talk about more DeFi when we are going to talk about the crash and what happened with Terra. But yeah, I think it's important to point out that it's a very, very new ecosystem. All right, so the main question, are we in a bear market yet? So the straight reply is yes, we are. People who are still hoping that we are not, technically we are. Just put the definition that what generally is considered as a bear market is a 20% decline over a certain period of time. It's basically a definition that has been done for the S&P 500, the NASDAQ in the US, but crypto has been down almost 60% overall since its high in, on the mid of November of last year. And we are almost in June now. It's been 6 months that the crypto market has been going down in some ways. So yes, we are in a bear market. Sorry to point it out for the people who thought that we were not. Technically, we are. But we need to have a look back of what happened before. It's not the first time that crypto is down, as some of you know. And it has been different in the past, but I think we can take some lessons of what happened and understand what might happen for the rest of the year. Okay. So I would like to just go back on the previous bear market. I will not go back to the ones earlier than that because I think it doesn't make much sense. But the one in 2014 is very interesting. It's interesting for me personally because it's when I got into crypto. But it's interesting to see where crypto is coming from. So at that time, it was mostly Bitcoin. There was Litecoin, other cryptocurrencies, but very, very small cap compared to Bitcoin itself. And as you can see, there was a huge, on the graph, bull market, which was very short, but actually extremely fast in its increase. And the reason of this bull market was because at that time, Cyprus and Malta stopped the banks in Cyprus and Malta stopped their customers to withdraw money. So it was due to a policy. It was something that happened over there, and people were rushing out to basically put their assets somewhere, something that they control. And Bitcoin at the time was available there, so that's why we saw a huge spike in the price. And I still remember it to that day. People were rushing to buy Bitcoin because they were expecting it to be their own asset and not rely on the government to be able to spend it. So bull market, end of 2013, I think it was October and November, it's when I got it in the first time. And then the crash. So for some people who remember what happened, at that time in 2014, there was only one main exchange called Mt. Gox. So for people who still remember that time, yeah, shout out to you because you might have been through a very stressful time. So what happened is that most of the trading of cryptocurrencies were done through this exchange, and this exchange basically collapsed. So there was a lot of things behind the scenes, but basically people couldn't withdraw their cryptocurrencies. It created a market crash. People still today hope that they will recover their crypto. I think you can see a lot of material on YouTube on what happened there. I remember it vividly. I can tell you that.
Were you actually affected? Did you buy your Bitcoin on Mt. Gox?
So the funny thing is that no, but I had some friends who did. The reason I didn't is that basically I couldn't really transfer my cryptocurrencies to Mongox at that time.
So you got lucky.
I got very lucky, but basically it was the first time that I was dealing in an exchange in some ways. Yeah, it was quite of a freaking, very, very stressful moment. And then after that, basically cryptocurrency, Bitcoin died for almost, I would say, until 2015, 16. People were still believing in the technology, but nobody was really using it. So I give you an example. In 2015, I had my Bitcoins and I had a flight to San Francisco. And I said, well, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be able to use these cryptocurrencies and paying my coffee, my hotel at the time over there. And when I looked at it, actually, nobody was accepting Bitcoin, even in San Francisco, the capital, the tech capital of the world. So you have to remember that back in that day, crypto was not used. Some very anarchist people were using it, transferring money and so on, but it was very, very limited in some ways.
Wasn't it used to buy some pizza in?
It was used to buy some drugs on Silk Road. That was the main use of it in that time. I don't remember at what time Silk Road basically collapsed, but it was the most use of it was for this kind of stuff. And the asset class was very small at that time. So when people were selling, the volume pressure was down. And there was no institution. Nobody was actually touching Bitcoin with a stick at that time. If you were a bank or any regulated financial companies, it was out of the questions. Basically, the narrative of crypto at that time was it's for terrorism and drugs, and that's it. And yeah. So 2014, and then what happened? Basically, not much, except that new cryptocurrencies emerged, like Ethereum in 2015. So in August 2015, basically Ethereum launched with an ICO, a new concept of basically financing a project through cryptocurrencies. And this is during that bear market that basically we saw innovation and we saw Ethereum coming out. All right, so 2014 for the one we remember, quite a good one, but I think we might have a lot of people who experienced this market back in 2018. The ICO craze in 2017 and the collapse of the crypto market for the next, I would say 2.5 years. So what happened in that time, for people who are not very familiar with cryptocurrencies, basically people started to create ICO, so coin offering on Ethereum. And basically people who are launching projects and raising hundreds of millions of dollars on Ethereum itself, which pumped the price of cryptocurrencies to the roof. At that time, Bitcoin topped $20,000 almost, I think in November of 2017, and Ethereum topped $1,357, I still remember, on the 6th of January of 2018, and then basically the market collapsed. So what happened at that time is that the ICO who raised a lot of Ethereum cryptocurrencies were basically selling to finance their project. Cryptocurrencies collapsed. Ethereum went down almost 90%. I think the lowest, it was in December 2020 at $80. And what happened there is that institutions just really started to get into cryptocurrencies. And they got into it because for the first time, actually at the high of cryptocurrency of the bull market, short mechanism was introduced. So you had financial asset to basically short the crypto market, which they didn't really exist before. So it was the first time that institutions could come in, or large traders basically shorting the market. And it was a collapse of the cryptocurrency state overall. So at Atto, this is basically when we started the company in the middle of this bear market, and people were always telling us, crypto is dead, blockchain has no use, why are you wasting your time on this technology? And we say people, 20,000 Bitcoin, $20,000 of Bitcoin makes no sense. Nobody is really using it. So yeah, that was the narrative during all these bear markets. However, what happened from 2018 to 2021, I would say that the industry basically built itself. You had regulation coming out. You had institutions stepping in. You had basically people developing new way of trading crypto, decentralized exchanges, decentralized finance, NFT as well at that time, even if it was not popular until the end. But basically, people were really building on the blockchain. We just started to basically saw those companies now, I will say in the past year, but they all started in 2018. The major custodians in the market starting at that time, gaming, exchanges, as I mentioned, basically the industry built itself during a bear market. All right.
Sounds like, was that the year the CryptoKitties came out?
CryptoKitties was 2017, early or
end of 2016. Can even remember the year.
Yeah, I lived through that things all the time. Yeah, so in the chat, I see some people became Bitcoin maximalist at that time. So yeah, it was the fight between, is Ethereum going to flip Bitcoin or not? And yeah, anyways, it was a good old time. So what I would like to, before we go to 2022, important to see where we were coming from, what happens, basically almost the same kind of ups and downs. As you can see, basically the graphs are almost similar. So 90% decrease. It was extremely painful, but yeah, it was not uncommon. So 2022. So here I'm not taking the Bitcoin price, but I'm taking the overall crypto markets. So basically we top 3 trillion market cap back in November. We are down to 1.2 billion, I think, as of today. So it's almost a 60% decrease. It's a bear market, but as you can see on this graph, compared to the beginning of the top of 2018, we are much, much bigger. So there is a reason for that, why the crypto market went up that much, and especially in terms of volumes, is basically because today you have the tools to buy and use cryptocurrencies compared to 2018. A lot of exchanges, it's very simple to buy crypto. You can play games, you can trade NFTs, you can go on decentralized finance. Basically, a lot of people were trying a lot of stuff and were attracted into the crypto markets at that time. So I'm not going to predict what's going to happen, but I would like to discuss with you about what's different compared to what we have seen in 2014 and 2018 and what we might expect. There is one thing which is extremely different compared to the years before is that today the equity markets overall is crashing. You have very high inflation now in Europe, in US, even in Asia. China is still locked. There is a global market corrections and recessions for some people that are talking about it. So it's a completely different macroeconomic landscape compared to what we have seen in 2014 and 2018. So don't know exactly what happened, but we need to take that in consideration because the market actually is, the crypto market is going to follow what's going on the global scale. I know I had some questions. People were saying there was a narrative of Bitcoin is going to actually take its own path and it's going to be an edge compared to the global recessions. I personally don't think it's going to be the case. If you are an investor on stock markets, you will see that taking some loss for equities and putting it in something much more volatile is a very bad investment strategy. So as we have seen a lot of institutions coming into play those past 2 years, and they are making basically the bulk of the volume of trading, I think it's going to be very difficult that we are seeing cryptocurrency taking their own path and maybe going up while the overall stock markets are going down. But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's the personal opinion of Max. We can still hope, right, Max?
I don't want to be someone who is bringing bad news. It's just like what we have seen before, and how the institutions that Atato is working with are actually, they are not going to leave the crypto market. They might be taking a step back in the investment and the way they are trading and so on. So, but it remains to be seen. I hope I'm wrong, but let's see from that. And the last thing that we got in 2022, it's this thing, which happened a couple of weeks ago, if I'm correct. So I hope all of you guys didn't suffer much from this crash. I think it was a turning point for cryptocurrency. And there is one silver lining that I see here on this Terra crash. So for people who don't know what happened, basically the Luna ecosystem crashed, $45 billion worth of market cap, which went down to zero. And I remember like watching CNBC on that day, and they were saying, oh, this is the Lehman Brothers moment of cryptocurrencies. Everything is going to die down to zero. And I'm still very impressed to see how crypto is kind of holding up. We have been around the $30,000 mark. So yeah, it's extremely interesting to see that despite a $45 billion crash, market is still kind of not down that much. 60% for crypto is not much, but yes, so very interesting. So what is this time different? Actually, those arguments are not from me. They are from a large venture capital fund that is called Pantera Capital. They are basically one of the largest crypto investors. They invest in exchanges, in DeFi protocols, and even layer 1 blockchain. And they were explaining that actually in 2020, there's something different. Is that basically you can do something else with your crypto than just buying and holding. So you can basically generate yield on decentralized finance. You can go on stable coins. You can do a lot of things. You can play games and make some earnings. So there is a lot of different tools that allows you to basically do something with your cryptocurrencies and not just transferring them back to fiat. So I think it's very important to understand that now people who are in crypto can park their money somewhere else. You can go on DeFi and make today not much, but maybe 2-3%. So people kind of stay in crypto and still want to use the space.
Yep. Max, we have a question from the audience.
Yep.
I believe it's R.A. Sorry, I can't expand out the whole name for now. Okay, I think Roland. Yeah.
Roland, yeah.
Yeah. So he has actually asked, has BTC reached its limit in terms of use case as currency to buy goods and services? And a follow-up question would be in terms of scalability, speed, volume of transaction, and difficulty to deploy smart contracts. I guess it is asking about mainly about limitations of BTC.
Yes.
And a follow-up one, which is the actually upcoming regulations are creating fear, uncertainty, some FUD and adding to the bear market.
Hello, Karen.
Yeah, and sorry,
I've muted.
Yeah, so Roland's question. So thanks, Roland, for asking. So the narrative behind Bitcoin has actually changed over the years. It was supposed to be the currency of the internet, a way of exchanges money very cheaply between anybody without the control of any central bank or state. That was the original plan, the original idea of Satoshi when he did the white paper. However, technical difficulties in some ways. Today, it's kind of expensive. You are not going to pay your coffee with Bitcoin because you are going to pay high fees because the network is very congested. There's many technical difficulties that some tech team try to basically solve, but it became also political. So you have a lot of basically political groups that created behind Bitcoins, some Bitcoin maximalists who don't want to change anything, the original code and so on, some that wants the Bitcoin protocol to evolve. And yeah, it's a political questions. And I think the narrative behind Bitcoin became that it's now a store of value. It's an asset that you can control yourself. without implication from the government or any agencies or any central banks and so on. I was not a fan of this narrative at the beginning because I thought that it was supposed to become a currency, but I understand it a bit better now. So when you are living with a country with very high inflation, I'm talking about 10, 15, 20% a year, I'm guessing Lebanon, Argentina, Russia, and so on. When you have an asset, basically, which is not correlated to your own currency and that you can keep for you without being affected by political and currency policy, it's very valuable. And a lot of people are buying Bitcoin as an edge to inflation. So it became the narrative behind. So I agree, it's not fast, it's not cheap, but the way people are using Bitcoin today is buying and holding. And for the second part of your questions, the upcoming regulation creating a fear FUD, as you say, there will always be some regulation creating some pressure on the market. Every month there is a new one in any countries which want to regulate stable coins, central bank digital currency, Bitcoin, and so on. China has been banning Bitcoin every year since 2014. So it's always going to be the case, never going to change for the foreseeable future. So I don't think it's kind of, it's not an indicator that I'm looking at on the blockchain or cryptocurrency technology today.
Yes, exactly. Adding on to that, I actually feel that personally, regulations, right, don't create fear, uncertainty, or doubt. You know, they actually create, they actually give a clear structure, and actually give it that amount of legitimacy to the users to say that, hey, you look, the government is paying attention. So yeah, it actually works in the opposite way of a FUD. Yeah,
I agree. And one note, and sorry for that, I saw David say that he was investing in Anchor after the guy basically went on this meetup to present the project. So on this one, you know, when we present new technology, we always try to do due diligence. Anchor passed it on. It was $15 billion of total value locked at that time. So I thought it was a legitimate project. But anyway, we have seen that I was wrong, and yeah, I feel sorry if you lost some money over there. Thanks, David. So yeah, so it's this time different. Just to recap it, I guess it is because as a user of crypto today, I would say in 2018 when I sold my cryptos, I went down to fiat, and that's it. I was waiting for a point to get back in, and that's it. It was mostly trading now. Today, I'm actually using decentralized finance. I'm trying new protocol stuff, and you want to keep a bit of money in crypto in some ways, in stablecoin. So I think it might be the case for a lot of different people. All right, so the lessons, what did we learn those past bear markets and what we could learn from this one? Yeah, so I'm sorry to break it out to you, but mostly most of the project that you support will never reach their all-time high again. Just look at, you can see on CoinMarketCap, actually, it's very interesting to look at the project we were at the all-time high in January 2018, and look at CoinMarketCap today, you would be very surprised. I think apart from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe 2-3 others, like none of them reach back the same all-time high. So be careful when you are investing. Obviously, you need to make your research, but yeah, what we have seen is that it's very difficult for projects to basically survive a bear market. Generally, they run out of money, or the blockchain has evolved, and yeah, it's a very unfortunate thing. But yeah, just be careful. And it's more on the developer side, but I'm talking about layer one. So for people who are not familiar with blockchain, so what we call layer one blockchain is basically the ground where people are building a decentralized app. And we saw a lot of new layer one appearing those past few years, Cardano, Solana, and I forgot which one was others. Just imagine on the bear market, if you are a company who wants to develop a project on crypto, or you are a developer who wants to build something on crypto, you are going to use the existing infrastructure. I mean, building your own blockchain in 2022 is extremely risky and has a huge chance of failure. Investing a lot of money to build your own blockchain today is going to be extremely risky. It's going to be a tough pitch to raise money. So I'm expecting to see actually the layer one coins staying the same for quite a foreseeable future. And cryptocurrencies investors or developers are going to basically build on existing layer ones and layer two. So yeah, just be careful on that. I think that if you are looking at launching your crypto project, just choose where the ecosystem is the biggest. This is where you have a much more chance to succeed and to limit risks. So the last, yeah.
Sorry, I think we have another question by John. John, to elaborate on asset-backed cryptocurrencies like stablecoin, gold-backed, and versus generic cryptos.
Yeah. So so let's start with kind of stablecoin. So an asset-backed cryptocurrencies is an example is the coin USDC. Basically, you deposit one USDC at the bank, they give you one token, which represents $1. That's an asset-backed, that's a stablecoin. It's backed by real US dollar. For example, UST on Terra was not backed by US dollar in the banks. It was a different system. And I think that we saw the limit of it, right? The Terra crash is really, really going to actually be a good lesson for the crypto markets, basically to have asset-backed stablecoins, and second part, offering reasonable yields on those stablecoins. So stuff like gold or anything else, I think it has a value. It allows people basically to transact on Bitcoin based on the real asset market. Stablecoins are not decreasing, they are growing. Just look at BNB, USDC, USDT, the overall market cap keep on increasing. And I think there is no reason for them to stop, but that's the part. For what we call the real estate-backed cryptocurrencies and other stuff, you touch to regulation, and then it's actually quite difficult to judge. So since the regulation is not in place, it's going to be, it remains to be seen what's going to happen to those ones. And the generic cryptocurrency is like Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other ERC20 like Chainlink, Uniswap, and so on. It's other models. We can expand on this quite a lot, but yeah. So yeah. So to finish on this, the bear market lesson. So basically, just take in consideration that actually the macroeconomic landscape is completely different than what we have seen before. Just look at the NASDAQ, look at what's happening in inflations everywhere. The money that has been poured in liquidity in the markets after the COVID crisis is insane. So it's pushing inflation up, and I think it's going to have a very, very tough, it's already have, but it's going to have a very tough impact on the overall equity market and also on the crypto market as well. All right, so not boring you, but let's see the opportunities, right? We need to make something fun out of it. I don't want to be a depressing meetup, but
it was, yeah.
So yeah, well, that's why I try to compensate a bit. But one thing that we have seen in 2014, in 2018, and we might see again is that money has been made during bear markets and not bull markets. People who have been investing when their coins were down, and I mean the big ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, and the new project made a substantial amount of money. Any rich guys that you know in the cryptocurrency space made his money during bear markets. So it's generally a very good time to invest if you choose the right project, right?
That's a very big if.
Yes, sure, but if look at what happened in the past, who are the top number one and number two cryptocurrencies since that times, they are still the same. very important, look at what happened in 2018 and 2019. We saw new blockchain arrive. We saw Solana. We saw others. We saw Uniswap getting created. We saw Luna at that time, which was a good project. It was mismanaged, but it was a good project. So you are going to see a lot of opportunities getting created at that time. That's the best moment to get interested in crypto, because you are going to identify opportunities that people who just read the general news are never going to see. So just make your research. It's when people are actually building stuff and real stuff. During a bull market, you see generally copy paste of a project that have been successful. People are copying NFTs to another network and making a lot of money. But that's not what makes the blockchain exciting, and that's what not make long-term project. So my only advice, and this is what I apply to myself and what I applied before, is that during a bear market, this is where I actually dig into the technology, see what's coming up, and identify the new project and new protocols that are worth it. So what I mean is that just on the in the space, since we are in, Charles and I, we don't see people not coming into blockchain anymore. I think it didn't decrease. Compared to 2018, nobody wanted to hear about cryptocurrencies after the crash. They say, well, it's going to be a phase. I think it's completely different compared to what we have seen before. Talents are coming. They still want to build on blockchains. There is new idea coming out, and we see especially very talented people joining the overall blockchain space. So it's a great time. We are going to see real projects not being built on hype. I'm talking mostly about gaming and NFT. We have seen a lot of hypes during those past 6 months. I think it's going to die out, and very new, exciting projects are going to come up of this. I don't say that NFTs or gaming is dead, not at all. I think it's just the beginning, but we are going to see much more value being created on those technology. All right. So very good questions from Tim. How long do you reckon this bear market is going to last? Honest reply, I have no idea. What I believe is that compared to before, we have much more exciting stuff being built, a lot more people into the crypto space. My hope, and this is my prediction, so don't take it as granted, but this is just what I feel, is that we might not see the 80–90% drop that we have seen before. It's going to stay low as long as the overall global economic is low. But yeah, I think it's going to be correlated with what's happening on the equity market. All right. So I just want to finish very quickly before we discuss some more questions. Something I really wanted to show you is that this is the venture capital investments, and this is a very interesting graph. You can see that before, a lot of VC were pouring money in what we call seed or angel rounds. So people would just have an idea with no teams and trying to build something. Now we see Series C, Series D investments, billions of dollars of raising. Just give you an example. OpenSea raised $400 million. Exchanges are raising as well a lot of capital because they have a proven business model. In some ways, they are generating commissions, they have users, they are generating revenue. So we are in a completely different space than what we have seen in 2018-19. So we are seeing in the industry, the metrics are coming up, the users are here, and it's not going to decrease. So what I see is a very comforting kind of way, basically indicators of what the blockchain space is. And yeah, it's quite, yeah. I don't remember what I wanted to say, but what I mean is that it's a good indicator. That's it. Yeah, so obviously, and just to finish, because it wouldn't be a meetup if I don't make like 5 minutes of promotion, right? One point that I wanted to show you is this graph. So it's the assets under custody. So when you are an institution, a banks, a funds, or an exchanges, basically you don't secure your crypto yourself with a MetaMask and a Trezor. You basically use custodians, so company like Atato, to secure the cryptocurrencies on your behalf. So what you've seen on this graph is that it keeps on increasing. And it means that more and more institutions get into the market. You will never see a bank or large funds going into crypto without a custodian. They can't because of regulations, they can't because of insurance or risk management. So they use a company like us to basically store their cryptocurrencies. And custodians have been raising more and more money, and the assets under management keep on increasing. So at Atato, as we do things differently, we don't offer only to banks, we actually offer crypto custody to everyone. So if you have some crypto and you're tired of MetaMask and you want basically your security, we are offering basically the first wallet for free. So you can just go and deposit your crypto for free with Atato. So it's a custody solution. It's made for businesses today. It might be a bit a blur for certain people, but if you are a company, a businesses, and you have some crypto, you pay your suppliers in crypto, you can basically just go on app.atato.com, can register, basically start using the product and pass a KYC and deposit your coins. So the first wallet is free. So yeah, we can't make it cheaper than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, just adding on to what Max has shared regarding our wallet. So if you are like I think some of you are leading some projects, or investing in certain assets class with organizations. Well, the most common wallet that we use might be a centralized exchange wallet, or like MetaMask, but in a certain way, without a custodian. And when something happens to that secret phrase or then you lose access to a lot of your funds. Yeah, so that's where a custodial solution like Atato actually steps in and try to resolve this problem. So if you want to ensure that at least 2 to 3 people on your team at the same time can get access without sharing the same passwords to everyone, because it weakens your security. Yes, maybe you can drop us a note, drop us an email, hit me or Max up on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to share.
Thanks, Charles. And I will go back on some questions in the chat, so if you don't mind. The first one I have is from Chris, and that VC investment in coming months will be telling. So I would like to share something with you. It's basically what every company will raise money received those past few weeks. It's a note from the VC investor to say, prepare for the worst. And they say a company needs to have some cash for the next 2 years because they expect the market and to go down. The amount of money that was poured by VC in 2021 was insane. It was a record level on cryptocurrencies. Venture capital is still going to look around for some projects, but they are going to be much more selective on what they choose to invest in or not. And yes, you're right, VC investment in the coming months will be telling. You're right, but it's generally because of the traditional VCs who generally slow down. But as Marcus said, he said A16AZ, which is, I would say, the largest crypto fund today, funded by Andreessen Horowitz. They just raised $4.5 billion to invest in crypto and Web3. So it's kind of telling on how do they see the market for the next few months. All right, and yeah, Marcus mentioned it. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat, but yeah, the 1.5 billion dedicated to seed investment. So at that time, seed investment is when you just have an idea. You are raising capital to basically build a team and develop your product. So very early stage. And the rest, series A, B, C, it's when you are much more mature. So yeah, one thing that I would like to point out is that they have a 600 million fund for the gaming industry on blockchain, which I believe is what we are going to see as a much bigger catalyst to bring users to crypto market. All right, so I will stop sharing because I've been talking a lot, but and where do I stop? Yeah, guys, if you have any more questions, I mean, this is kind of my opinion in some ways. I just don't want to be too biased and give you exactly what I think, because it's not the point of today. I would be very interested to hear from you. What do you think might happen? If you expect the market to rebound tomorrow and go back to all-time high, or if you expect a bloodbath in the next few months. It's kind of interesting especially for people who have been quite new in yes, Charles. Yes, Jesse. A rebound in November, December. Okay, duly noted. Yeah, so in those markets, Marcus is right. One bad news is basically creating an opportunity for a drop in the market. So yeah, it's kind of when the sentiment is bad, yeah, you just need one bad news to make the market drop. And today the market is still bearish. All right, Charles, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So there is, I think Bertrand is asking another question for how long did the bear period last in the last cycles?
Yeah, so what happened is that in December 2013, the market dropped and it didn't went up until January 2017, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
I think Bitcoin went back to, yeah, it was 14, 15, 3 years for Bitcoin to go back to $1,000, where it was the top of the market in 2013.
Right. I think let's not speculate about projects which might collapse or not.
Yeah, we have no idea. So people were betting a lot on Luna and Terra to be safe, and we have seen what happened. So yeah, it's very difficult to know the insight of especially private companies.
Yes, actually, on the question of Terra, I do have one question, which is the Terra collapse has been the biggest, go to zero blockchain event. I mean, it has been the biggest death spiral that I have seen in like the recent 1 year. I mean, there are other death spirals, but they were probably very small. So are you surprised that, it didn't collapse the market maybe a bit more, considering, whenever there's a drop?
Yeah, I'm
45 billion.
I'm super surprised. I was seeing the collapse live, and I was saying, okay, that's going to collapse the entire market. And I'm very surprised that crypto didn't went down further. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that we are still at 30,000 for Bitcoin and almost 2,000 for Ethereum, when the fifth or sixth largest basically blockchain collapsed. I know a lot of people who lost a lot of money, and for them, yeah, they said, okay, we took a risk, 20% returns was very attractive. So yeah, we were kind of understanding that it was risky, but yeah, it was extremely painful for a lot of people in the community. And yeah, I'm very surprised we are still at those levels. So it shows as well the strong state of the blockchain state.
So you mentioned 20%, which I guess was like the anchor protocols, the lending or the staking returns for UST. So what do you think will change for DeFi?
Well, I think we are not going to see 20% very soon. I think that's the main thing. For people who don't understand, is that 20% in decentralized finance was not something like out of the ordinary. Yeah, because what projects were doing, and they were all doing the same, they were giving you so very high APY, so 20, 30, 40% to basically attract users to use their network. It was the case with Avalanche, was the case with Polygon, I mean, a lot of companies. And I think the big difference was that on Terra, they didn't expect people to basically pour that amount of money. I think it was $14 billion at the highest. So what happened is that so much money was poured into it, and it was very tied to the UST, which was an algorithm stablecoin. And this is what basically created the crash. So to come back on your questions, I think we are not going to see 20% APY very soon. I think people are going to be much more realistic, and people are actually going to evaluate the risk much better.
Right. I think we have time for one last question. Okay, I have seen one interesting one by Chris
Yeah.
Okay, on what is your opinion on the game NFTs in general in the upcoming months? Like as part of as Atato as a digital wallet custodian, do we also deal with gaming?
Yeah. So two things on your question. Thanks, Chris. I think gaming is going to be the biggest thing that happened in blockchain since the beginning. Today, the games on blockchain, they suck. Frankly, they are terrible. They are terrible. They are not very nice. People are just playing basically to earn, but they are not fun, right? However, in our company, Charles, all the young guys, they are basically playing games on blockchain. And I think when the game industry is going to come into blockchains, it's going to bring millions of users. And I think it's going to be one of the biggest, I would say, user flow that we are going to see in the blockchain space. However, in the next couple months, I think it's going to be a bit slow due to the market conditions. People need to build like super attractive games and super cool stuff for people to come back and try them out. And yeah, you mentioned, yes, at Tato, basically what we are doing, we are securing basically assets on behalf of gaming companies, and we are generating wallets, secured wallet for game company as well. So yeah, we kind of see what's going on in the space. And I think so to give you some figures, because I have them here, and thanks to Florent, less than 1% of the total gamers population play the play-to-earn games, so less than 1%. And those who actually play the play-to-earn games come from limited pool of countries, so Philippines and others. So you see 3 billion users generally in the gaming space. 3 million are just using Axie Infinity. So it's extremely small, and everything is concentrated 60% in Southeast Asia. So thanks, Flo, for all those notes. All right, and I think I would just read something from David, which I think is very right. He said, another lesson from past bear markets, many genius go influencers disappear and never came back. One thing that really changed compared to the previous one is that, yes, social media and influencer have a bigger role. And yeah, I hope people are going to understand that most of that is wind and there is not much behind. So yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, and yeah, so any more questions? I didn't see the chat.
I would say there are not. I think we answered most of the questions. So if anyone has, any more questions, please feel free to type them in the chat.
Yeah, and again, blockchain is all about trying. It's when you get into the space that you identify the good projects, and basically that's where you add the best opportunities. It's where nobody wants to invest, that it's the best time to invest, right? It's not me who said that, but a very famous investor. And I think this is the main opportunity that we are seeing during the bear market. And what's my idea about cryptocurrency mining? It's a very good idea if you are not paying electricity. So it's you can go online. There is very good tutorial online on how to make mining profitable. And basically, it's all related to the cost of your electricity. So if you have the chance, if you have the chance to have cheap electricity, then do it. It's worth it. But just calculate your return on investment very well, because yeah, there is a reason why the big miners are all located in Iceland, North America, and so on, is because basically they have access to cheap electricity. And yeah, so I think it's not related on the one. Yeah, yeah. So that's about it. And yeah, so at Atato, we always try to focus on education and so on. So generally, we invite companies. We invited Aave a couple of weeks ago, and so on. If you need anything on blockchain development, If you want to reach out to understand cryptocurrencies a bit more, please feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to reply and to point you out to some of cool reading materials. And one more thing that I would like to say is that we are hiring at Atato. We are now 27 people. And we have different application in marketing, in tech development, and so on. So feel free to ping me, Charles, or myself on LinkedIn if you want to apply. We are always looking for good people. All right. Seems to be up. It's 7, and I think there is another event just after from the French Tech Bangkok. Thanks a lot for joining, and thanks a lot for a lot of questions. I hope you got something back from the presentation. Thanks, Charles, for hosting it.
Thank you so much, Maxime, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, asking questions, and you know, just being here. It means a lot to us, especially for me. This is my first time appearing. So,
yeah. And thanks for joining from Singapore, France, and I forgot all the, I saw a couple of familiar names, so thanks a lot for them. I wish you all a very good night, and next one is going to be Charles hosting the next meetup, and we'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.
Also for guests, so if you are keen to share, ideas or anything, please, reach out to us and we can discuss. Yes.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great one. Thanks, Charles.
Bye.
Bye.